Arco 1964 here, now for Day 2 Cheltenham Festival 2026. Day 1, if you saw my review video or my original selection video, El Boxer was a great start. After that it didn't really hold up at all. A couple of places for Little Amber and Better Days Ahead, frankly, with not high prices, of course, for placed. Western came nowhere. I saw that as well as most of Tenny Trends. I like Tenny Trends Racing Post, and they had the Ultima horse that the last one was really going well, up for circa 50 to 1, and I had money on that horse, and that was a disaster. Whether he'd have won or not, I don't know, but he was being probably would have been placed. It's difficult to say because the horse fell and the other horses ran on quite well. We just don't know what would have happened there. But really have got the outside this way. So every single one of the 7 selections are 21 or above. I've stuck the turn. There's no drama this end. Probably worthy favourite. But it's the shortest Mexican racehorse ratings. I don't have the ability, as I said before, to do my own ratings. And so I'm going to go for a bit of value there on out. We haven't beaten over hurdles that I'll sort it and win it on with good yielding and soft. So I think the ground shouldn't really be a problem for the horse. He's run along out the distance. And I prefer like horse run at the distance, frankly. And I know horse can move from 2 miles to this race perfectly well, but I'd like a horse who's ran and a win within about a furlong of a distance looking at, and he's run at stiff tracks already over hurdles at Naas and Navan, as well as Naas Flat wins at Naas and Fairy House, and only once his actual debut, a 100 to 1 rank outside at Cork, the only time horse come outside the top 2, and the only other defeat is actually a Fairy House, Naas Flat race, so it's certainly in good form. Brown advisory, I was a bit of money in Thomas Moore actually. I think he might be overpriced. I just prefer Salver as a selection here. Won 4 times, won twice. Short trip start with debut over fences, got turned over by Lamba. Then came winning as a favourite at the relatively new Isha Novices Chase at Sandown's. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago. The first one was one of then last year for it. I think it was then. And then a couple of ones of tight tracks, 4th in the Quarter Star, and then winning what is called Hampton Novices Chase. I don't think that's renaming. I can't remember what it is. Is it Lightning Novices Chase maybe? It's renamed as that now at Windsor. Windsor's brought back jumps racing. He hasn't run at the old course at Cheltenham. He's actually fallen over hurdles in the new course when he was running reasonably well, and also Parmajba in the Triumph has come third. So he's a old course and new course are rather separate beasts, I would say. But at Cheltenham's done okay, frankly, and I think again might well be overpriced. A lot of possibilities here for the Not the Coral Cup, now with BetMGM Cup Handicap Hurdle. It was brought in 93 when Olympian did the Imperial Cup Coral Cup double, but now Cole deciding to take the bat and ball home with him. I've now stopped doing sponsorship. Looking here for Buddy One, good horse, and he won decent race state hurdle last year, coming 5th. He's won before at the old course. He's also a slightly disappointing one over fences there as well, but he's got decent enough form. He's got run between good and soft. So I think he's still got the ability there, and again I think he's overpriced. Well, probably high price in my view for a horse who may be getting on a bit now, but certainly is classy at his best. Cross Country Chase, Stumptown probably the best horse in the race, bit short price for me though. The Royal Risk the veteran, I have to admit I didn't know he was 13 years old actually Latenightpass. I may have overlooked that part. Wow, but he's high prices. I mean it's not an impossibility, he says, but I think it's still he's won over this course before. At 31 years, getting on a bit of the oldest winner, possibly Popson's Earth Mover, won the Fox Hunters 2013. He'd won that at 7-year-old Earth Mover, then won at 13. But the race it can sort of, it's been sort of the old, Revby's Trends book, I haven't got for a few years now, but used to say that when it was back with your handicap, in fact, before it went to a condition race, before it went back to a handicap again, that it wasn't really a handicap as such. It just pace didn't really set up as that. He's won all sorts of ground, frankly, from good to through to soft. As well beaten. He's been well beaten in the last 2 years. His boy wins this year, which is why he's of that sort of price he is. And having come second in this last year, I think it's a better value bet. Maybe some other horses might be in the race. Champion Chase Marge, but I'm sceptical 6 years in the race. I put a couple of social media messages out about this. I'd overlooked, in fact, he was 6. I said, well, I'd have overlooked he was 6, given he was won Triumph a couple of years back. And this is that race beating Cargese, who, of course, who's just won the Arkle. But 6 year olds, they don't have a win record. I mean, they're well chief for second in this. There was a period when they were going, where younger horses were really doing well. Well, Chief came second, then Moscow Flyer 2005, then the 2 years later, Voipo Stellis won at 6, and then 2008 and 9, Mastermind of 5 and 6 year old won the race. But not much since then, and you have to go back to Inkster in 73, the only other horse in the entire history of Champion Chase, going back to 1959. So the horse younger than 7 to win it. Now, of course, I don't want to say trends are there to be broken, there certainly aren't. I think you do. There are certain things you need to keep an eye on. Like actually, Wallace was favourite actually in this race as a 6-year-old and wasn't good enough to win the race. I'm not convinced of margin particularly. Also, jumping not ideal. I'm not quality. See, I was powerful. I've put a message on Twitter. What are you running this horse in this race for? God knows. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. And since mid-80s, 4 novices have ran in this race. Impotent Phones won in 89. Venot with a rather bizarrely owned Ollie Carter horse, who to be fair would have done a bit better if the Ollie Carter didn't fall out Paul Nicholls and the breathing had been declared basically and was able to run on it. Hedgelander was brought down and Storm Promise made a novice mistake. He was actually running rather well 3 out. Each Batterston horse should be here. Of the others, I will say that a couple of them, here's the ratings. In the Tom I found a 50 there. I think Lotus I think isn't. He's looking at ratings and his odds. I'm not going to backing him. But both Illotomp and Fan 50, they're not greatest record at Cheltenham, but not bad record. Not enough for me to disqualify the horse in my calculations. So good that I found a 50, but I'm not convinced about this race particularly. Last year's winner's out. Captain Guinness is now 11 years old, a winner a couple of years back in the Grand Annual. And personally, I wonder if when Nick Henderson retires, they'll call this the Henderson Grand Annual, because it's named after a minute after his father Johnny. I think I might make the Henderson's Grand Annual. I think that might be a good idea. Old horse and race again, Calico. To the course and distance victory. It's had decent form actually, winning the valuable 2 mile race late last 2025. They're both at Cheltenham and at Hurst Park Chase. I wonder if that's a new name for a race. Hurst Park. The actual interesting about Hurst Park, of course, closed in the 1960s. The actual turf from that course is actually now the Ascot Chase course. It got taken across in the 60s. Whereas why Ascot's race as a 1965 race named that way is because that's when they started jumping as well as flat racing, and it was from the turf from Hurst Park. But that race is, I'm saying, I tell him Handicap has won a couple of times. He's got a good record in valuable handicaps, and so I'm keen on. I think again could have the ability there. And lastly, in the bumper with Nolimit, to be fair, he's only won one of his 3 races, one a yielding, which I think going probably will be later today. Short head defeat in a valuable grade 2 at Leopardstown. Post may not be good enough, 1 point to point by 10 lengths. But again, I think value odds there, so that's what I'm going to go for there.